Spot colors. So spot colors are a non-process ink that's pre-mixed, and really it's something that then we can kind of make certain that we're going to get consistency through a print run, whether it's printed in Minneapolis or printed in New York or printed in Hong Kong. It's going to look the same. And so when we print a spot color, or what we would call a non-process ink, it's printed separately from those process inks. So I'm going to show you where the spot color inks are at, and then we'll talk a little bit more about them. Couple of ways that we can get to them. Now I have a spot color right here in this document. Notice when I click this box here, it says Pantone and then a number. Whereas when I click my other boxes, they are CMYK. So these are process. This is a non-process or a spot. So there are a couple ways to open up these libraries. I'm going to take my swatches panel. Remember, if you don't see swatches over here, go to your window menu and locate your swatches. So while I'm here under window, I can actually open up what we call our color books. If I go down towards the bottom, this is the bottom of this window menu, you can see I have these different libraries here. So I have a symbol library, brushes, graphic styles, and here's my swatch libraries. So the swatch libraries will open up, and we want to look for color books. So the color books basically show all of different spot colors. These are all different companies. And that's why we call sometimes a Pantone color. Pantone is probably the most well-known non-process ink manufacturer. And sometimes they're called a PMS color for Pantone matching system. Sometimes we call these a fifth color because they are printed in addition to the CMYK 4-color process. But most of the time we call them just spot colors. And that spot, that name comes from saying that non-process inks are spots on paper where the process inks do not print. I'm going to click Pantone CMY coded, and what will happen is a whole new library will open, and this is actually a very large library. You can see that I can scroll quite a bit here to see all of my Pantones. So this is a specific Pantone library called Coded. So when we choose a color, as I did here, you notice I have some swatches there. Let's just make a new swatch here. I'm going to click and hold down my Alt key to drag a copy out, and we'll put another one behind the M, the second M. So if I drag and find the color that I would like, I have my fill color up front, and let's locate a blue color. Let's do Pantone 107. So now when I do that, you see that I do get a new swatch, and it is titled with the Pantone name. However, it actually isn't being treated as a true spot color at this point. So when we deal with printing, we, like I said, have our 4-color process printing if we were to professionally print with those plates. One time for the cyan, one time for magenta, one time for yellow. And then you would go through the black, and that would be your 4. And then the 5th time it would go through would be potentially your spot color. Now, I do want to mention that spot colors are not always the 5th. They can be a 2nd color. A lot of times prints will run with black and the spot color. So it's a 2-color print, much cheaper than a 4-color or 5-color or 6-color or however many spot colors you add additional. So I opened up this library from my window menu. You can also go to swatches. The very first icon here is Swatch Libraries menu. When I click that, same thing that I saw earlier, I can choose color books, and there again are all of my books. Check mark is indicating I have this one open already. Okay, so to show our separations, under Windows, we have a option that Illustrator gives us, and this is to show our separation preview. I'm going to choose separation preview, and you'll notice that I see cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, but I don't see any of my spot colors. Although I thought I used spot colors, so why are they not showing up? There's a reason for this. And if you notice, if I went ahead and printed, let me show you one more thing before I tell you how to fix it. Under File and Print, we have some options here when we go ahead and print. And if we navigate to Output, you'll again see that if this were going to run in a 4-color process print, it's going to print cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. But again, no spot colors listed. And I thought I was using spot colors. The cool thing here, if I go to Overprint Preview, I can actually look at each one. So this is what's going to print in yellow. Notice that my spot color is printing in yellow, and same with cyan. My spot color has cyan. Look, there's a little bit of cyan trying to make that color there. So I need to change this, and how I change it to actually becoming a true spot color is in swatches. So when I click on my swatch right here, it says color type process color. This is Illustrator's way to say, well, you know what, I think you want to do a 4-color process print. I don't really think you want a spot color. So it defaults to this. I want this to be a spot color. I click OK. Now my spot color shows up in my separations preview, and it will also show up in my print dialog box. Let's do the same thing with the second Pantone here. Let's make this be a spot. So what it was doing here is it was trying to force fit it into a CMYK color, which is not what I wanted. Oops, and now I messed this up. This is the spot. And notice up here too in swatches, when it's defined, if you can see that these two, this one is not defined and this one is defined as a spot. See how I have a little dot there? This one does not have a dot. This one has a dot. I'm here in swatches. That indicates that this is in fact a spot color. Now if you look here, my color separations preview, I have those listed, and if I turn off everything else, you can see that, yep, that's printing Pantone 107, and this one is printing Pantone 163. So now if I go up to, oops, let's turn them all back on. Let's go to File and Print. One more time, let's take a look at my output. And you can see that I have those there. So if I were to send this to the printer, I would have, and it was a process printing, it would run through the press for cyan, a second for magenta, a third for yellow, a fourth for black. Then it would run through a 5th time to pick up this Pantone 107, and a 6th time to pick up Pantone 163. So as far as my budget, this is going to be a pretty costly print run. However, I can guarantee if I were to print this in Minneapolis versus San Francisco, it's going to look the same. Process colors don't always look the same. Pantone colors, we call them color in a can. They are consistent, and you can rest assured that those will look the way they are supposed to. So that's working with spot colors. As you start working with clients, you may have a client that uses one specific spot color to ensure that their color looks consistent no matter where their materials are printed.